In the last 6 months, I have gone from living in a skyscraper in Miami to this new peaceful life on the Oregon coast. This change has spurred a lot of growth, especially in my witchcraft practice. In many ways, I find myself starting over. I was just settling down to write down all these feelings I've been having when I thought I would share this conversation with you. This video is not planned. I don't have a script, so you are just going to get my witchy stream of consciousness. If you've been practicing for a while, you will know that every few years your practice goes through metamorphosis. At least mine does. And I know that is because life is constantly in transit, and therefore your practice will constantly be changing. As things change in your life and you collect new experiences, your spiritual practice will follow suit. Usually this aligns with any big life changes I'm experiencing, namely this one, moving. This is the biggest change I have ever experienced in my practice. I'm in a totally new place, surrounded by different spirits with a totally different wheel of the year, so it makes sense that my practice will shift dramatically. And I'm really excited about that because that means my practice is going to deepen. It is going to advance. That's a word we hear a lot in the witchcraft community. People want to know how to advance in their witchcraft. People want them to teach them advanced witchcraft, but that is impossible because experience cannot be taught. But as I am in a season of it, I thought I would talk about this journey. And maybe by sharing where my head is at, that can inspire you. Invite you to ask questions within your own practice and hopefully answer some of mine. And of course, I love just chatting with you, catching up, and talking about witchcraft. So please let me know how this resonates with you and where you are at in your practice. What have you been up to? When we moved up here, we only took what we could fit in the car, so we had to get rid of a lot of items, including witchcraft tools that I had outgrown. Though many of these things weren't like items, they were herbs, candles, things that you would use and then would cease to exist. Which is actually what I've used a lot in my practice up until now, because before I didn't have any space to keep things. But now that I have that space and we're not moving anytime soon, I can start collecting things, and that is really exciting. And of course, this is not to say you need any specific items to practice witchcraft or need a lot of items, but I really enjoy collecting things that mean a lot to me, especially those that are foraged from the land. You will see what I mean in a second. It has been really refreshing to not have a lot of witchcraft tools right now, as it's allowed me to strip back my practice and ask why I am using things. And then start fresh, building it back piece by piece with things that really mean something to me. And that is what I mean by starting over in my witchcraft practice. I'm examining my tools, beliefs, traditions, rituals, and seeing if they still serve me in this new environment. An exercise that I love that was introduced to me in Thorne Mooney's book, The Witch's Path, Advancing Your Craft at Every Level, I think that's the name, is this practice where you strip your altar completely bare and then you add the items back piece by piece after reflecting on each one of them. Do you use every item within your practice? Do they all hold a meaning to you, or are you just going through the motions? Have you collected these items and the pieces of your practice, like the beliefs that frame it, because they truly reflect you and your beliefs? Or are they just there, collected because you think you should have them, or because someone told you to have them or do a certain thing? From there, you are instructed to reconsecrate and reconnect with your tools, placing them only on the altar when there is power in doing so. Think about the placement of where you put things on your altar. Is there meaning behind that? Some really good witchcraft advice I can give you is why is an important question to ask yourself. Because if you don't have the why, you don't have meaning behind your craft. You don't have intention. If you are just doing things in your practice to do them without any personal connection behind it, You are just lighting candles. You just have a statue on a desk, herbs in a jar. Now, I do believe that there is nuance to this. I'm an animist, so I believe everything has a spirit, an ornate energy within it. They hold their own power. But witchcraft is a craft. It is something you have to do. It is not passive. You have to be an active participant. And for me now that I am in a new space, I need to answer that question for myself. Justify how things in my practice make sense here, now. Answer your whys. Take inventory of the things that you are doing, because if you don't, you are just doing things. That is what I've found myself telling myself a lot, and hopefully that resonates with you as well. This dresser is my new altar, and it is essentially empty. As I said, I did a lot of decluttering, and now I am in the process of collecting items to best serve me now. The first step to connecting to this new land has just been spending time outside. I haven't been super active because I've just been outdoors. I can read about and research this area, but getting out and experiencing it, especially whilst it is so beautiful, has definitely been my top priority. And being out and being active within my community and this environment has brought so much life into my practice. I have checked out like every state park near me. I've attended every local or regional festival that is within driving distance of me. If I hear that there is an event going on, I am there. I have joined a couple clubs to be part of my community. I belong to like a gardening club. And through all these different avenues, I've met a lot of people and had a lot of experiences that have connected me to this community, to this land, in a way that I wouldn't be able to if I didn't put myself out there. And this has been so important because I believe witchcraft, at least my witchcraft, is cemented in the land around me, driven by a drive to connect to the spirits that I share this land with, and it is very regional. I've made a couple videos about this and how you can begin doing that. I will link one of them here, but I just wanted to remind you to put yourself out there because it has brought so many blessings into my life and my practice. The first thing that I sought out when moving up here were books about the area. These aren't inherently witchy, but I find so much of building a witchcraft practice is gathering resources that aren't inherently witchy. This is day hiking the Oregon coast. I have been on so many hikes and I'm getting emotional thinking about them. I've already found some of my favorites within my area, and I can't wait to keep hiking the same trails over this wheel of the year and see how the flora and fauna changes with the seasons. There's history in this and even a bit of folklore about the area. This next one is Plants of the Pacific Northwest Coast, which of course you know that I had to get. I use this in conjunction with Picture This, which is an app that you use to identify plants. I take a picture of them, see what the app says, and then I flip through to find the page of that plant to learn more. And this one has a lot more folklore, actually. These are what I like to call macro and micro hiking, where you take it all in and then you like get deep. And books like these are so easy to find at your local thrift store because people buy them and then they donate them. These are just a couple that I've picked up, but I am slowly building my library. I've also picked up a couple niche books. These are the Rhododendron Handbook from 1956. Part 1, Species. Part 2, Hybrids. I actually got these at the Rhododendron Festival in Florence. Rhododendrons are one of the first plant allies that I have found myself called to because they're so prevalent here and within the culture. There's a bunch of festivals dedicated to them because they grow up and down the coast. A few other plant allies that I have been really called to is one, Myrtlewood, which is a type of tree that only grows here. Next would be hazelnuts because they are like one of Oregon's biggest, let's say, agricultural crops, and basically everywhere you look they are growing. Same with wineries, grapes, there are vineyards everywhere, and they are so beautiful. Oh, and cherry blossoms, that's a new one for me. Although cherry blossom season did pass, they bloomed when we first got here. They're a very early spring, at least here, type of flower. And then we moved into rhododendron season, and that has now passed, and they have mainly fallen. I am just so jazzed about the seasons, and I can't wait to see what plant catches my eye next. So I've got to get books on these very niche interests that I have. Another book that I have, I'm still on my French journey. I've shared before that I am primarily French, and my journey of ancestral veneration has been a long one and something that I am still working with. So I've started collecting some French books. I would like to learn French because this is entirely in French and I can't read it. But I did find an English version on Everend, previously known as Scribed, which is a book subscription service that I love. But as you can see, this is just gorgeous. And interestingly enough, the climate geography of France is super similar to that of the Pacific Northwest. So a lot of the plants that I'm finding in my French folklore are plants that are also growing here because the climate is the same. As mentioned, Myrtlewood is a wood that only grows here, so I have picked up incense. I have both the stick version and these little, they're almost like little charcoal cubes that I've been using to smoke cleanse my house. Virtually everywhere you can find things carved out of myrtle wood, and that is something that I'm still looking for. I just haven't found a piece that really resonates with me. But I did pick one up for a friend that you guys know, the Red-Headed Witch. She is one of my best friends, and she also lives up here. She lives in Washington. We haven't met up because we're still like kind of a drive away from each other, but we will soon, and I'm going to be bringing her a gift. So Leah, if you are watching this, stop. You cannot see this, but it's too good not to show everyone else. So I'm going to show you, and hopefully she is not seeing this video. This is really big, so it's kind of hard to show you and talk, but as you can see, this is one of the most beautiful things I've ever seen. Leah is a quilter, and she makes just like the most beautiful quilts. Some of them aren't quilts, like it's like art made out of squares. I can't remember what they are called, but this so reminded me of the creations that she makes. It is really thin, so I think she could just put this on a table and then do whatever witchcraft, stitchcraft she has planned. I just think this is such a beautiful form of artwork. There are a surprising amount of wood carvers in this area, and there's like wood carving festivals and different things like that, which I have really enjoyed going to. And though this piece is not for me, it is going to a great home, and I can't wait to find a piece that resonates with me and brings some of that Myrtlewood energy into my home and to begin working with the spirit of the tree myself. I do want to start foraging. There are so many rock hounds and mushroom hounds and bone hounds up here. Everybody is just out in the woods looking for stuff. And while I haven't found anything personally, I have met folks who have and purchased or been gifted some of their finds. I have some bones that I would like to show you, but content warning, animal bones, nothing too unsettling. They're just all clean and sitting on my bookshelf. I just took them off to show you. Everything that I am about to show you was found by the same individual. And she actually has a collection at some of the state parks. She is obviously very ethical. All of the animals that she finds, she just finds by going out and looking for things of this nature. And you know how sometimes if you go to a state park, you will see specimen of the area? Well, she curates those. And I often see her at local farmers markets and things like that. And anytime I do, I pick up some things. These here are some deer bones, deer vertebrae specifically. And what is so cool is she cures these herself and can tell you the road, the trail that she found these items on. As you can see, these are just sitting individually, but I do want to create some terrariums and different ways of displaying these. But I do love bones. I think it's a great way to honor and connect with the spirit of an animal. So these are deer bones. I do also have an elk hip bone. This belongs to a Roosevelt elk, which is the type of elk that is indigenous to this area. Its hip is broken, but you can put the pieces together just like that. And it would go like this. Like the top would be his butt. This is one of the biggest pieces that I have, and I want to find a way to display this. Elk are incredible. They're all over the coast, and obviously living in Florida and Minnesota where they don't have them, every time I see them, I'm just awestruck, and they are surprisingly fine with humans and will walk just through the towns in huge herds. And right now it is like baby season. I don't know if you'd call it fawn season, because I think they're fawns. Anyway, they just had their offspring. They are growing and they grow up so fast, and the little ones already have their antlers. It also is antler season, where if you don't know, elk and other deer that have antlers, they grow a new set every single year and then they fall off and they grow bigger ones the year after that. While they're growing, they're underneath this velvet and they're so precious. And so when I drive around, I see all these deer and elk with velvet antlers. They're just so beautiful, and it's a cycle that I really enjoy seeing. In Minnesota, I grew up with deer. My dad and I would always watch their antlers grow, and then when their antlers would drop, we would go into the woods and try to find them, and my dad would make things like lamps out of the antlers, and it's something that I really want to do, especially finding some elk antlers, because they're just magnificent and huge. This last bone, she doesn't really know what this is because she found it on the beach. It has been naturally bleached, but best guess is that this is the vertebrae of a sea lion. I did see sea lions for the first time recently, and they were barking off the coast of a trail that I was walking, and I ran down and I saw them off the coast, and they're just massive. And in fact, there was a fisherman who was fishing off the jetty of where the trail ended, and while we were there, a sea lion swam up and sat next to him and waited for him to hopefully reel up a fish and give it to him. I'd like to think that he did, but they just sat together for a while and didn't bother each other, which was really sweet. But you are not supposed to get that close to them. The fisherman didn't move. I probably would have, because they have really big teeth. I have also been really into plants, as you can see from the view around me. Plants were not something that I really could explore until now because I didn't have the space. And now plants are slowly taking over my apartment. This is a Swiss cheese plant. Up here we have a prayer plant and a Burrow's tail succulent. As of right now, I just have house plants, but next I want to do herbs and also have some things outside on my balcony. I have really been enjoying green witchcraft and meeting new plant allies, as well as those that grow outside. I want to eventually create, like I said, terrariums for the bones, but also displays for plants and other forageable things that I find outside. I'll put some pictures up so you can kind of get inspiration of what I would like to create. My dream is just to bring all of these local spirits into my home and get to know them and work with them in my practice. And being able to put them around my house as decoration, because they are all so beautiful, is something that I want to do. which will take time. And when I create things like terrarium, shadow boxes, displays, I will probably share that as well if that's something that you would like to see. If there is any other content you would like to see from me, please let me know. I hope that you've enjoyed this so-called witchy stream of consciousness. Hopefully this insight into my practice has been interesting. Again, I would love to know how your practice is going. I look forward to sharing developments in mine as they transpire. It's always good to catch up on witchcraft with you. Thanks for watching. Until next time.